All right, West Virginia fans, we are 2 weeks away from kicking it off versus Robert Morris. It's been a crazy week of camp again. I was unable to do any camp videos this week. I was actually in Disney World with my family, so this is the first time I've had a chance to kind of react to what happened at camp this week. So in this video, we're going to break down some of the headlines out of camp this week, break down some other West Virginia sports headlines, talk about some of the coaching comments and react to those, and just talk West Virginia sports in general. If you're a Mountaineer fan, please like and subscribe to the show. We are approaching 300 subscribers. Would love to definitely pass that coming up soon. With that being said, let's get into what happened at camp this week. So let's start off with the quarterback room, which is something that has been brought up at camp a lot, and it's on everyone's mind. So I'm going to play two clips for you. The first one's from Rhett Rodriguez. He talks about the quarterback competition going into the season and how it can stretch not only into the Robert Morris game, but into other games if guys don't start separating themselves. Let's hear what Rhett had to say about that competition.
Have played, have started, but they've never been like the full-time starter for a team yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said before, when we were looking at guys in the transfer portal, yes, you can look at high school film, but seeing guys that have in-game, live, meaningful reps obviously means more. And I think, like you said, we have three guys that have had that in that position. Of course, Nico being here, Jalen and Max at their previous schools. So I think that gives you a little bit more comfort of when they go in the game, you can expect more of, you can know what they're going to play like. Again, different system, different offense, different opponents, all that type of stuff. But having three guys in that spot is, I think, what makes it so hard. There's not a lot of separation right now between really a lot of the guys, more than just three. And so I think, again, something might take longer into the season. But I think that the three older guys, like you said, have more experience. And so we feel a little comfortable with that. But the younger guys, too, have been really impressive. So we always try to say we get three guys ready to win with, and I think we have more than that at this point.
All right, so Rhett Rodriguez on the quarterback room. Again, I thought it was kind of interesting to say that there hasn't been too much separation between the guys that have played, Max Brown, Jalen Henderson, and Nico. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure how much of that is coach speak or how much of that is actually true. Speaking of coach speak, Rich Rodriguez talked about the quarterback situation, and he kind of just said that even if he knew the separation was there, he's not going to tell you. And he kind of talks about that in this clip here. So this is Rich Rodriguez on the quarterback situation and kind of where things stand as we are getting close to the season.
Game where if you have to split reps against Robert Morris, maybe even do you mind that, or do you?
If you had a guy clearly separate, and you're like, he's it. I would maybe know that myself, but I wouldn't. There's no reason for me to say that. You know what I mean? And no reason for me to even include anybody else in that other than Rhett. You know what I mean? So I don't, it may happen, it may not happen. In my mind, I kind of think I would know where we're at, but I'll watch today's practice, and then I'm really going to have to evaluate all week about what our true order is, because you can only play one at a time, right? But I have an idea where they're at right now, and I'm seeing if somebody will separate in the next 6-7 days.
Thank you.
All right, so I think when the depth chart comes out next week before this first game, there's going to be a lot of ors there because he's not going to tell you. Like I said he might tell you, or you might find out at 2:06, when West Virginia takes the ball the first time. So it'll be interesting to see what they do that first game. Realistically, they're playing Robert Morris, so I think there's a chance that all the quarterbacks could play depending on how ugly that game got. So hopefully for the Mountaineers, they go out, they do their business, they impress, and they can get multiple guys in the game. And then we can see for ourselves and make our decision of who we think it should be. I think it's probably going to be Nico, but you can't count out Jalen either. Let's talk about learning on the fly. And he talks about, Rich Rodriguez here, he talks about some of the question marks, right? And the coaches can say all they want about what the team looks like and how the team is going to be when they field questions, but no one truly knows until they start playing other teams. It's not like the NFL where there's an NFL preseason and there's joint practices. They don't have that luxury in college. So you truly don't know what you have until you go out there and play a game. So Rich Rodriguez this week talked about kind of learning on the fly and kind of talked about answering those questions as the season goes on. Here's what he had to say there.
we've got the depth and the talent there to be as good as I want them to be? Are there a few of those positions?
So I guess to be determined, right? I think there's so many spots that, with only two guys that had actually really played a lot for us last year here, there's still so many questions, that we think we're more athletic than we were in the spring. Now, are they as athletic as some of the guys from last year? There were some really good players that were seniors last year. But, like the secondary, I know we struggled a little bit in the secondary. I like, and even in the spring I was a little concerned, but I like where we're at. We got some older guys there in the secondary, so I think they've progressed well. And the O-line is all new, but it's a hard-working group, but none of them have really played, so there's still some questions there. The deepest position group we got is quarterback, and that's a good thing. You can't have too many of those, and those guys are continuing to progress. So, it is. I'm not saying it because we said it a bunch of times. There's a lot to figure out in the next couple of weeks, and there's probably going to be some more figuring it out after we play games.
There you go. So the best coaches adjust, right? So just because you are getting a lot of reps in practice, there's a difference between a practice player and a gamer, right? And I think we all know that. So guys that are going to produce in the game are the guys that are going to play the most. So there's still things to figure out here, it sounds like, and that's not surprising with 70 new players. It's not like you're a Penn State that has all these returning starters. You're starting from scratch. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens week 1 and then week 2. And when this team starts facing some adversity the first time, how they respond and guys that they can count and rely on. Some guys that they can rely on, it sounds like, is this receiver room. Let's start with the slot receiver room first. So the slot receiver room has been getting a lot of praise this offseason, right? Rich Rodriguez has talked about this might be the best slot room that he's had. And then Logan Bradley called these guys as good as gold. So he talks about guys like Rodney Gallagher, Oren Singleton, and Bowie as guys that can play in this offense and all make a different impact. So I want to play that clip about what Coach Bradley said about these guys and what they bring to the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Of the three, what do they do different things well individually? What do they do? Like, start with Rod. What are his best assets?
Rod, I like to tell him all the time, consistent Rod. From the moment he gets in his building, he's going to be the same day every day. You know what you're getting out of him. He's going to put his head down and work. The whole team rallies behind him, love him. He's a leader in his own way. He's great. He's going to come on that field, and like I said, every day you know what you're going to get from him. He takes coaching. Like, one day if he messes up on the play, he wants to come to you immediately after and he wants you to correct him. The next day, I'll be surprised if he messes it up again. He's great at being coached. He does a good job at putting his foot in the ground, coming back up and catching the ball, and going up in the contested catches, which you love to see. Man, his route running is special. When he's on. He can any moment make a route just look special. And I would like to say that's coaching, but man, that's just I tell him all the time it's something in that Florida water. Bowie, he's a kid that he's obviously played for Coach Rod, so he knows the system, and you can coach him hard because he knows how it is to play for Coach Rod, right? But also him getting the ball in his hands, he does a good job of getting upfield immediately, putting that foot in the ground, getting upfield, no dancing, and at any point he can turn a bubble into like a 12-yard route, getting you a first down. He can turn a slant and just get upfield for a 20-yard gain, So that's what you love from him, his ability to catch the ball and immediately get upfield and get you that.
All right, so again, he talks about that slot receiver room and those three guys, and I think all three of those guys bring something different, right? Let's talk about Gallagher. Rodney was a high-level recruit that came to West Virginia, and he's someone that has had flashes in a West Virginia uniform, and I think he's going to get to that next level this year. And then you talk about Singleton, someone who put up a lot of big numbers, but at a group of 5 school, right? Eastern Michigan, caught 65 balls last year and has showed explosiveness, but can he make that next step up a level? And then Bowie is a guy that is an in-state kid who's been climbing the ladder and getting better as he's gotten more time in college. And his last bowl game showed that. So, and Bowie's a guy too that was played for Rich Rod, so he knows this offense and he's been helping these guys along. So I think they each bring something different, and I think they're all going to make an impact on the team this year based on his comments. The other guy that keeps coming up is Jaden Bray. Jaden Bray is now a guy that in 2 off seasons between Neil Brown and Rich Rodriguez has got a lot of praise. And we've seen flashes at him at Oklahoma State. Now it's time for him to do it in a West Virginia uniform. If this guy can stay healthy, I think he's in for a big year. Rich Rodriguez talks about Bray this week at camp. Let's get to that.
Him to media day. How has he come along in these practices?
Yeah, I've been really impressed. He's a really hard worker. He's probably, we have those GPS vests that measure how fast they go during practice, their explosiveness, and how many yards, which I don't know how they do it, but it works, how many yards they go, and we look at that every day. And he is either 1, 2, or 3 after every practice with the amount of volume he goes. So he's playing a position that gets a lot of yards, playing outside receiver, but he works really hard. And he's a physical guy. He's done a great job picking up what we do, and I think he's going to be poised for a really good year.
Again, awesome to hear. They talked about Cam Vaughn and Bray, and they said 50-50 balls aren't 50-50 with those guys. So really excited to see what Jaden Bray can do. I know it was disappointing last year to see him not have the season he wants. Hopefully this is the year for him. I'm not going to play this clip, but it's Henry Weinrich. He talked about group of 5 players coming up to the Power 4 and the jump not being as crazy as you think. So guys like Fred Perry, Chase Wilson, Michael Coach Jr., if Jamori Robinson is healthy, he doesn't think that transition is going to be too difficult because they're ballers in that league too. The defensive line is coming together, according to Zach Alley. So he was asked about the defensive line and how it's been gelling. He talks about that here. So we'll talk about that before we kind of wrap this up.
Zach, at the end of the spring practice, you said the defensive line needs to do a little bit better job at getting to the quarterback. How have they progressed all through camp, and how do they look today?
I thought they've done a better job. Coach Rodriguez does a good job of messing with them. All the different ways they run the ball and they pass protect different ways and all that. So that does affect their ability to come off the ball a lot of times. But I've been pleased last couple of days with just the ability of our edge rushers, and even interiorly, a couple guys today. Some of the young guys got out there. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them had a sack today from the inside. So true freshmen, some of that. So encouraging to see those guys do it, and hopefully we can keep building on that into the season.
You mentioned
Yeah, so good stuff from the defensive line room. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Jamori Robinson if he's eligible. If you have him, you feel a lot better about that room. If you don't, other guys like Eddie Kelly are going to have to step up. But that's going to happen this week. We'll talk about that later. And then also in the news this week is the revolving door at running back. So Jalen Knighton, a very promising player from Miami and SMU, was ruled ineligible and is not going to play this season. That definitely hurts. He's probably the number 2 or 3 back that was going to be on the roster, so not having him hurts. But there are replacements for him, and we're going to get to that now. So we mentioned last week that Andre Devine was possibly joining the team. As of today, he's officially on the roster. So Andre Devine, a nice pickup. Might take some time for him to get on the field because he's still only a redshirt freshman or a sophomore. So he has a lot of eligibility left, but it's nice to have depth there. The other guy that we got is Tyler Jacklich, 6'2", 223 pounds. So if Ty Edwards isn't eligible, he might be able to give you that big size back that West Virginia is looking for. He was previously at Wyoming before his junior college. He was the 3rd overall rusher in California in high school, put up 2,278 yards and 32. So those are very impressive numbers in a very impressive state. California is no joke at high school football. In the transfer portal window, he was offered by Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee State. Last year at JUCO, in 8 games, he had 842 yards and 9 touchdowns. Also caught the ball 12 times for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he is a late addition to the camp, so not sure what his role is going to be, but someone with that size, and I think he's pretty fast. He might be able to find the field, especially if things get thin at running back. And again, it's all going to be up to what happens with Ty Edwards and if he's eligible. But if he's not, this might help lessen that if he can't play. So Tyler Jacklich coming over from JUCO to West Virginia at running back. West Virginia also had another player added to the group this week, which is Hubert Hendrickson III. He's a 6'2", but he's only listed at 150. So that's definitely a little bit of a concern. I know he's fast, but 150 pounds at 6'2", not sure how that frame's going to hold up in the Big 12. He's probably someone that's going to need more time with Michael Joseph in the weight room. So not sure what his role is going to be, especially in year one. But he's a cornerback. He's coming from the Division II level at Franklin Pierce in New Hampshire. He has 4 years of eligibility left, and again, you can see the sprinter time there. So Rich Rodriguez likes speed, so it's a low risk, high reward type of pick for this guy. So Hubert Hendrickson III added to the West Virginia room at cornerback. This one was interesting this week, the student ticket policy. So WVU football student ticket entry update. First come, first serve, game day seating. So student ticking lottery process remains in place. So if you are a student, you have to put in a lottery system to see if you get a ticket. I think if you're a Mountaineer Maniac member, you automatically get in. Students, the first 2,200 students, including Mountaineer Maniacs, who enter the e-student gate at Milan Postgres Stadium will receive a wristband for entry and will be designated to sit in the lower level of student sections 109 and 110. Any student who enters after the initial 2,200 will be designed to go to the upper student section level. Listen, I think this is the right move. I think if you look at the photo there, that was the Penn State game last year, and the rest of the stadium is filled and ready to go, and our student section is half empty. It's an eyesore on TV. It's something that's been needed for a while. The students need to show up. It's your duty as a student to be a West Virginia fan and to get there early. There's only 6 or 7 home games a year. Do your part, get to the game, get in the seats, and fill the stadium so it looks good on TV and it looks good for our fans. Our players deserve better than having a half-empty student section. So the students need to get there and be there, and this policy will reward students for getting there early. So if you want to see closer to the action, you need to get there early. So if you're a student and you're watching this, get to the game early, stay for the entire game, do your part, and enjoy the game, because there's not many of them in your academic career, right? You get maybe 6 or 7 a year. You're only there for 4 years. That's not much. Many games for a student. So make sure you do your part and get to the game. So I was glad to see that policy changed. The non-conference basketball schedule was released this week. We're going to open up with Mount St. Mary's. You're also going to play teams like Campbell, Lehigh, Pitt, Lafayette, Clemson, Georgia, Xavier, and Ohio State and things like that. I'm actually super excited for the Lehigh and Lafayette games because Lehigh and Lafayette are 2 local schools to me. Lafayette is right down the road. I could basically see it from my house. So even though they're smaller schools, I think it's pretty cool to see the West Virginia Mountaineers take on those teams. So non-conference basketball schedule was set this week. Also in the news this week, we have a new basketball commit, 6'7" small forward, Evans Barning Jr. He reclassified, and he's actually the 15th spot filled on the West Virginia roster. So if you look here at it, the roster is complete. We have, Jasper Floyd and Jenkins, Huff, Eaglestaff, Lorient. So not going to get too much into basketball because I'm just not there yet, and it's football season. But it looks like these are going to be the 15 guys that we're going to go to battle with. I'm excited to watch these guys play. It's just going to take me some time to get used to the roster and get used to this team because every single player is new. What else do we have? The week ahead. So this is a huge week ahead for the West Virginia program, right? Let's start with Tuesday's court date. It's something that needs to be circled on your calendars. Tuesday, August 19th is the court date for the 4 ineligible players. This is going to be a massive day either way for West Virginia. Either way, we're going to get these players and they're going to join West Virginia, or we're going to find out that they're not coming. So either way, it's going to be a big day. Hopefully we get some finalized answers so we can get these guys on the field and ready to play because they're all valuable and can all bring a important impact to the West Virginia Mountaineers. First day of classes at WVU starts this Wednesday, so there's only 2 days left of fall camp. So once they get into first day of classes, I believe they start game prep for game 1. So it's here. You're basically going to be 10 days out on Wednesday when school starts. So that's an important day. Fan Fest was rescheduled to Friday, August 22nd. So that is interesting for you guys that want to go there and get autographs. And then week 0 is next week. I'm actually going to drop a video this week about there's always a West Virginia connection and how week 0, there's plenty of stuff to watch if you're a West Virginia fan. And I'm going to drop that probably around Wednesday. And that's really it. Again, if you're a Mountaineer fan, please like and subscribe to the show. We really appreciate it. It's good to be back. Let's go Mountaineers. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you guys soon.